Hey there, it's me, Nicky Asher-Bowling from It's Going to Be Okay, the podcast where we embrace the journey, share uplifting stories, and explore real-life tips on navigating the twists and turns, especially when it comes to living with depression and anxiety. I'm here to remind you that there's a community of support cheering you on. Life's road can be bumpy, and many of us face the challenges of managing our mental health. But fear not, because on this podcast, we're not just talking the struggles, we're sharing practical advice, genuine experiences, and the stories of incredible individuals who have discovered their own path to resilience. So whether you're looking for a boost of motivation, seeking coping strategies, or wanting to connect with others who understand, join me on this journey. Together we'll laugh, learn, and find the strength to face whatever comes our way. This podcast is more than words. It's a lifeline of encouragement and a reminder that even in the darkest moments, it's going to be okay. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's dive into the heartwarming tales and valuable advice that makes life's challenges a conquerable adventure. Thank you for tuning in, and let the journey begin. Hello there, everybody. It's Nikki, and I'm the host of It's Going to Be Okay podcast. And trust me, it's going to be okay when I say that. When you suffer with depression and anxiety, a lot of times you don't feel like it's going to be okay. But I can tell you from personal experience that I've created some routines and some self-care that will definitely help you. So today our topic is you're not lazy. So a lot of times when we're in depression, sorry, my shirt is bugging me. When we're in depression, we are unable to do our housekeeping, do chores, go to work, and other things. But it's okay. So it's how depression hijacks our motivation. So I would like to talk about some things, how we can counteract that, talk about what depression actually does to our body, and what we can do to help ourselves out of that, and then give ourselves some grace, because of course the when we don't get our chores done, or be able to do things that we want to do, we are always so hard on ourselves about it. So without important tip, Thursday and Friday is my free workshop here on StreamYard. I will have the link in the show notes. So I would like for you to join me. It's at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's only an hour each night. And I talk about how we can recognize the issues that we're dealing with in our life, and categorizing those, and then how we can work through them. So it's, me, it's not rocket science, but it's hard work. So I would be really glad if you would join me on those 2 nights. And as we go through those, there will be some free time to ask questions. And I've already got questions gathered up. So if you do have any questions that come to mind that you'd like to ask, jot them down, or you can go ahead and send them to me on Facebook, on my Facebook page at It's Going to Be Okay. And if you don't feel comfortable enough, doing it live on the StreamYard web browser. So let's get started. So you're not lazy. how depression hijacks motivation. So I broke it down to like five top topics. Okay. Because there's a lot of things that we could talk about, but I felt like these five were the most important. And we'll read through them, talk about them, and then go from there. So, five ways depression hijacks your motivation. So, energy drain, even at rest. Depression can make you feel physically and mentally exhausted, even if you haven't done anything all day. It's not just tired. Your brain is working overtime managing emotional stress, and that burns real energy. So, how many have laid in bed all day just because, well, I feel like I just can't get out of bed. So you lay in bed all day, and at the end of the day, you might have slept, you might have woke up, you might have scrolled your phone, you might have listened to some music or whatever, and you're still tired. That's because your brain is going through all that emotional stress that you're feeling or mental stress that you're feeling, and your brain is still working. I'm People don't understand that even when your brain, if you have a job that you use your brain a lot and you may just sit there all day, um, physically you're not exhausted, but mentally you're exhausted. Some of the other jobs that I've had, I would come home and I would just feel completely just drained. And sometimes my head would hurt. I wouldn't have a headache, but it would just hurt from all the information I had processed that day. And I would just need to go to bed. I felt tired, and it was because my brain had been working all day long. Um, so just because you're not physical doesn't mean that you don't get tired. Your brain gets tired, especially when it's working through emotional stress that you have. So that's number one. So top dysfunction or executive dysfunction. Depression affects the brain's executive function. So, what this means is when your brain is preoccupied with managing your emotional stress, it makes it harder to plan, to prioritize, and to initiate tasks. So, to start doing something, you might want to clean the kitchen, but you can't even figure out how to start, because your brain is like so preoccupied and it can't even plan. When we all go to do something normally on a good day, we know the first thing we're going to do, you know, like when I clean up the living room, the first thing I do is I start putting things away. I throw trash away if there's any trash. I fold up the throw blankets. I straighten up the throw pillows. So you have a process that you do. And so on a good day, you don't have to think about it because your brain isn't overworking. But when you're depressed and you're working through emotional stress or mental stress, your brain is so preoccupied with all that that on your planning, it can't even think like, okay, I know I need to clean the kitchen. I want to clean the kitchen, but I don't even know where to start. You can't even get that far ahead. So that's what they call executive dysfunction. I always thought of it as like the top of your the top of your head, like top dysfunction, but your executive planning where you decide the steps, the order that you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, and when it's going to get done. So then number three, reward system shutdown. So things that once brought you joy no longer feel worth doing. This is called, okay, I was trying to pronounce this word, anhedonia, 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 and it disrupts your brain's ability to experience pleasure, which in turns kills your motivation. So, I've experienced this lots of times, so something that would bring me pleasure, like um, working in my yard, pulling weeds and trimming my bushes and um, clearing out the weeds around the flowers, and then, walking my dogs or talking to my kids or talking to my husband, or something that you have always enjoyed, and then now all of a sudden you don't enjoy that anymore. So that um, joy that you've lost, it disrupt. You haven't lost it. It's just that your brain has the anhedonia has disrupted your brain's ability to experience that pleasure. And so when you don't feel that thrill of getting to do something that you like to do, then you're not even motivated to do it anymore. You you can't even do it, you know. So for those of you that have has manic depression or mania or severe depression, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so you know that that motivation is not there. You don't even have the will to do it. You want to do it, you just can't even get it done. So then you have your number four, your negative thought loops. So everyone's had this, even if you've not had depression. Um, you've probably been in a situation where um, something has happened or somebody said something, and then you just think about it over and over and over and over. So thoughts like, I'm lazy, I never finish anything, or what's the point? These become a soundtrack in your head. These self-critical um, mantras, they drain your hope and create a cycle of shame. And you feel like you're stuck, in that, where your head is just saying those things over and over and over. So it's just, I mean, even if you don't have depression, you can still deal with that, and it's extremely frustrating to be stuck in that. And so anyway, we'll talk about that more later. Overwhelm and paralysis. Wow, I need to learn to read. So even small tasks feel monumental when everything feels like it's too much. Your nervous system responds by shutting down, making it even harder to act. So that goes along with your energy drain, even at rest. So you have that paralysis feeling, and you just, there I go again. I'm yawning. So my brain is overheating. So when everything feels like it's too much, you just shut down, you know. And sometimes when I have had like a really strenuous day at work, or I've had to do a lot of double work, you know, um, I'm at a new job, and so some of the things I do repetitive work over and over and over. Sorry about that. Um, so by the time I get home, I'm just like, I've had too much. I need to chill out, take a break, and sometimes I don't talk, a lot. Um, it just happens. So you just know that your brain is trying to take a rest, and it needs to rest. Okay, so how can we, how can we work with these things that can prevent us from living our everyday lives? So what we can do is break our big task into manageable steps. So if you need to clean the kitchen, instead of thinking about, oh, I got to clean the whole kitchen, every dish in the house is dirty, you're just going to do one thing, right? You're just going to do one thing. So what's that one thing that you can do? Wipe down the countertops, you know, wipe down the table, the appliances. Maybe you can do that. Maybe you can rinse the dishes off and stack them. That way, when you can get to washing them, it's not a big deal. So you can create energy aware routines that honor your mental health. So um, you've got to take time out for yourself. So um, you've got to give yourself some mental shutdowns, and being intentional. I'm not saying go and laying in bed 8 hours. Um, when I was at my other job and I was going through a rough time, I would, on my lunchtime, and at the end of the day, I would just take 10 minutes and just have some quiet time. So I would close my eyes, do some even breathing, that way it would help calm me down. And it works. Then I started journaling, just writing down. Sometimes I would just write down about situations that had happened, or I would, sometimes I couldn't even get a coherent sentence out. That's how bad I was feeling. So, what did I do in those moments? I would just write thoughts. I'm feeling bad. Um, I feel, I would just write things down. And sometimes it'd be one or two words, two or three, 4 words, one word, like I feel tired, I fatigue, my brain hurts, I'm feel stupid, whatever it was I was feeling in a moment. And sometimes that was just be what that could was only the thing that was helping me in the moment. So Um, and so then what you do is get a hold of that, our inner voice that wants to say, you're lazy, you know, and you need to be doing this. When that happens to me, I'm like, okay, I know I need to get this done, but right now it's more than I can handle. So I'm just going to sit here and do some meditative breathing. So you just have to rein it in and think about something else or have a moment of silence or do something that calms you down. Maybe, some even breathing, um, whatever it is. If you've not tried any of these things and you have depression or anxiety, then we need to talk because these are some tried and true um, mechanical things or routine things for self-care that you can do. I know a lot of people like to think that a little pill is going to help them. A lot of times it does. I've been taking medication. I was trying to think how long I've been taking. It's been at least 20 years that I've been taking medication. So it's not like I'm against medicine. I do take it. But I do realize that medicine's only going to get me so far. So the rest of the way, I've got to do other things that is going to help me. And so that's why I do these podcasts so that you can learn some of these things for yourself and to help improve your quality of life. So another thing you're going to have to do is celebrate small wins that help you get your momentum going. So when I started regularly taking showers again regularly, this was 5 years ago. I was almost, I mean, like, I hate to say it, but it's true. I don't know hardly anybody that doesn't talk about it unless, I know there's some people that probably are intentional about not taking showers and stuff. But when you forget and you go a week or 2 without taking a shower, it's one of those things where you feel so tired that you just can't even handle it. So when I started doing those things again, going outside and getting some sun, um, talking to people, because I wasn't even talking to people. I was barely talking to my family. That's how bad it was. You know, so when you start doing those things again, you need to pat yourself on the back. Okay, I've done this. Now, what's the next thing I can add to my list, of self care routine things that I can do? And then you just, build up from there until you're fully functioning again. A lot of people think that you just start doing everything again. I mean, when you have depression, you can't do that, especially when you've been in a low depression for a long time. You can't do that. So, and all of these steps are just showing us how we can work with our brain when and understanding your brain and how it works. When you understand the physiology of your body and your brain and how it works, you can learn how to do things that will work for you and not against you. Okay, so we want to be successful in our daily living. We want to be able to function in society, have a job if we have a job, have a family, and be with a family when we have one. I mean, that's what it's all about. And then we can work on goals that, yeah, when I was younger, I wanted to always do this thing. Or when I got married, we said we would go here or we would do this. I always wanted to have a flower garden, or vegetable garden or whatever it is that you want to do in your life. You may not be able to do those things now, but there's nothing saying you can't do those things in the future. And just because you have depression doesn't, I mean, it's not a death sentence, you know so you can work with yourself. You got to know your limits, and then you got to work within those limits. So when I was started on this journey, I worked within my limits, and they were itty bitty, you know but then as I kept practicing and practicing, my vision got bigger, and I was able to expand and do more things. The things that I'm doing now far outweigh the things that I was doing back then. And I'm doing more now than I was doing then before I had a really bad, depression spell. So, and it's because of these things that I've been doing. My cats are trying to get in the room. I think they're almost in here. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. So, working with your energy drain even at rest. So, honor your energy limits. So, use a spoon theory approach to plan your day with low energy, medium energy, and essential tasks. Um, so, what that means is, say you have things you need to do. Okay, I'm going to clean off the counter. That's a low energy thing. Like I'm using the kitchen, cleaning the kitchen thing again. Um, Schedule recharge time. We've talked about that. Recharge means where you just sit and let your brain um, not think about anything. So you just close your mind, close your eyes, and then you can do different breathing techniques. That really helps clear your mind. So another thing is taking care of yourself. So you need to drink plenty of fluids, get protein into your system, and move. That's you even if you just stretch. So stretching, is what I started out doing, and it helps signal your body that it's okay to start re-engaging and doing these movements. So, and it's only going to be a little at a time. My coach, she tells a story that she just started walking to the mailbox. Um, Sometimes she made it there. Sometimes, she didn't make it all the way there, but she would started walking to her mailbox. Her mailbox was at the end of her lane at where she lived. And sometimes that's all you got to do is just get up and get dressed. And sometimes I would just go sit out on the porch. I mean, I tried everything, different things. And sitting on the porch was great because I got some sun, I got to meditate, and also see what was going on around, you know, my block. So, on your executive dysfunction, oops, I went up too far. Um, so you might know what needs to be done, but your brain can't connect the dots to do it. So what you can do to get this to work is use other tools like checklists, timers, visual schedules, and phone alarms. So I put everything on a calendar, and so I have everything on the calendar where I can see what I need to be doing, and then I also start phone alarms. So when it's time to start doing something, then I get up. That way I can make sure I get it done. Body doubling, I don't get to do this so much, but it helps a lot. I know when my sister and I were younger, we would call each other when we needed to clean the house. So we would talk on the phone, and we both would just clean, 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 or cook, 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 bake, 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 or whatever it was that we were doing. And we would just talk and talk and talk until we were finished cleaning. It was a lot of fun. Um, I know there's some like YouTube channels that do body doubling. Like they'll be cleaning, and then when they start cleaning, you start cleaning, and then you just keep it playing in the background, and you can hear them talking and things like that. Um, so I do this breaking task into ridiculously small steps. Um, so just taking something that needs to be done and making it super, 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 super teeny, teeny, with itsy bitsy, teensy, weensy small. Because sometimes that's all you can handle. All you can handle is getting get your basket out of the bathroom, filling it up with extra toilet paper rolls, and putting a new roll on the little roller thing that goes on the wall or whatever it is that you use. I can't think of the word. Toilet paper holder. Yeah. So reward system shut down. The anhedonia. I need to look that up, see how that's actually pronounced. So this is where your depression dulls your brain's reward center. So trying new low pressure things. I'm not good for trying new low pressure things, but um, I'm trying to think of some stuff that I might have done that was the only thing I could think of was I had written out some postcards to, um, I wrote them out to like, I was talking to a mom who was struggling with their kids out in public. So I would say, "Dear mom, I see you. You're doing a great job. Um, I know it may not seem like it or you may not feel appreciated, but I want you to know I see you and I do appreciate you." And then if I saw someone struggling with their kids at the grocery store, I would give them this card. So that was something small and low pressure. I mean, if you don't like talking to new people, then maybe that's not for you. So, track small amounts of satisfaction with a mood or activity journal. So, I had a grateful journal. Is that what they're called? So, I would write down things I was grateful for. Um, it started out with like your big generic things. I mean, they're not generic, but like, oh, I'm grateful for my husband, I'm grateful for my kids, and then as you keep doing it, you start finding like, oh, I'm so grateful that I got to smell those beautiful flowers today, or I'm grateful that I got to talk to a friend I hadn't talked to in a long time. You get more in tune with everything around you, and it really helps you um, to not. The one thing about serving, and I've talked about this before, but being a servant um, is really a great thing to help you deal with your own depression because it takes your mind off yourself and puts it on somebody else, someone that may be struggling harder than you. So that's what that is. So, um, so this one, celebrate doing the thing, even if it didn't feel good. So one of these things was I started volunteering at the nursery at church, and at first it wasn't really that enjoyable. It was like really hard work. It really was. But now that I've been doing it for over a year, like I've gotten to um, get to know the kids and some of the other people that volunteer with me. And so now I really enjoy doing it. Now there's still, I mean, it's still hard work because you've got toddlers that you're um, taking care of, during the service time. So it's a 2 hours. It's a good 2 hours of time. It doesn't sound like a long time, but when you have, toddlers coming in and some of them are, they don't want to be left there with their parent, without their parents, it can get very, it can get stressful. But the kids that you see regularly that come in there, you get to know them, and they're so sweet and ram- um, rambunctious. Yeah, and some of them, they remind me of my kids and my grandkids. So I did it because I miss my grandkids. That's why I did it. But at first, I didn't enjoy doing it, but now I really do. So that's what that was talking about with your reward system shut down. Because I was like, why did I even volunteer for this? What's wrong with me? So, negative thought loop. So, this one, we've all had that where we just think, man, I'm so dumb. I'm so lazy. I'm so fat. Anyway, so what we do is practice awareness, thought awareness. So, and not judge ourselves. So catch that thought, I'm lazy. Then question it. Is this true, or am I just overwhelmed? You know? So I've done that a lot. Like I always like sometimes I'll say, oh, I talk too much. Then I'm like, is that true, or am I just overwhelmed? Sometimes it's both. I do talk a lot and I'm overwhelmed with myself. So you can also use like compassionate self talk. Give yourself grace. I'm having a hard time right now. I'm still trying. I'm like trying to fix these feelings I have, or why I'm feeling so depressed. I mean, you just give yourself a break, people. Then the last one is your overwhelm and paralysis. So, depression, it like your stress tolerance, if you don't have depression, your stress tolerance is pretty high, So, if you have um, depression, it takes away, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? So, it takes away your stress tolerance. So, I mean, if you have like a messy room or errands to run, or even a bit send an email, like there's been times I've needed to mail stuff out It's already in the envelope with a stamp on it. Why didn't I just stick it in the mailbox? Because it was during a time when I was struggling with my depression, So I had to create micro goals, set a timer for 5 minutes and just clean for 5 minutes. You don't got to clean the whole room, just do 5 minutes of cleaning, you know. You could do the body doubling. You get a friend and say, hey, can you help me get started on cleaning? You know, you don't have to do it for me, but just be here when I need to get started. If it's something important that needs to get done, and they'll be like, come on, let's go, let's get this done. What do you got to do to start? And you start talking about it, and you're like, okay, so you start doing the thing that you got to do to get done. So, um, and then one thing it does, I really don't think I've done this, but it was just a suggestion when I was uh, studying for this, was practice gentle exposure to tasks. Don't wait to feel ready. Start while being kind to yourself. So I guess I have done this because there are times where I have just started slowly to get something done, work on it. Like my office up here, I hadn't been up here in a while to clean it. And once I started working on it, I would just do a little at a time. And once I got to a point where I was making progress, then I was like, okay, let's go. I'm almost done. So, yeah, maybe I had been doing that. I've just never heard anybody call it that. That's crazy talk, I think. Gentle exposure. I mean, what am I, a snowflake or something? That's crazy. So, those are the top 5 things that I picked out that I thought would cover a broad area of things that you could be struggling with because of your depression and how to work with them and recognize them. The first thing to helping yourself is recognizing the thing. Just, oh, that's what she was talking about. Duh, you know. So once you recognize it, then each time you may not catch it before you start to do it. You may do it and you're like, crap, that's what she was saying. She was saying, do this thing instead. I mean, I still do that. And then you keep practicing. And then eventually, before you go do the thing, you're like, oh, she wants me to do this thing instead because it's easier for me. You know, instead of cleaning the whole kitchen, I'm just going to sweep the floor. I'm going to wipe down the appliances. So those little things instead. Because if you go in to tackle the whole kitchen, you get halfway done and you're stressed out, overwhelmed, and you've got a bigger mess than you did before. I mean, I've done that so many times. So I just hope these tips help you and reminds you that it's going to be okay. Sometimes we don't know when it's going to be okay, but it will eventually work out for you. Okay. So I love you. And I hope you join my free workshop on Thursday and Wednesday. Oh my God. What am I saying? Thursday and Friday. Yeah, we're going to do Thursday and then come back to Wednesday. That's insane. So Thursday and Friday at 7 o'clock, they're an hour each. And it'll be more excellent content like this that I'm sharing with you. And these are actual things that I do. I don't just pull things out of my behootie. Okay. So sometimes it might be called something different. And then once I look, I'm like, oh, yeah, I've done that. Yeah. So anyway, I talk to you later. You guys have a great day. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to It's Going to Be Okay. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need a little encouragement. And if you haven't already, hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And hey, if you're looking for support, I'm currently offering free coaching sessions. Just email me at Nicky Asher-Bowling Coaching at gmail.com or message me on Facebook at the It's Going to Be Okay page. Remember, whatever you're going through, you're not alone. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay.